welcome to this episode of Authentic Achievement, where it's my privilege to be joined by the fabulous Michelle Seiler Tucker, who is the founder and CEO of Seiler Tucker Incorporated. She's a 20-year veteran in mergers and acquisitions. Michelle's sold hundreds of businesses. She owns and operates several successful companies and holds the following professional designations and certifications: Mergers and Acquisitions Master Intermediary, Certified Senior Business Analyst, Certified Mergers and Acquisitions Professional, Certified Business Broker, Panelist for M&A Source, Keynote Speaker. Michelle is also best-selling author of the book Sell Your Business for More Than It's Worth, and her latest book, Exit Rich, was released nationwide in early 2021, and more recently, the audiobook was available from May of this year. You can get your copy today at exitrichbook.com. And in addition, she's been featured in Inc., Forbes, USA Magazine. Michelle makes regular radio and TV appearances on Fox Business News, MCNBC, and CBS and CNBC, and has spoken alongside many prominent speakers from Eric Trump to Mayor Rudy Giuliani, Donna Karan, Randy Zuckerberg, Steve Wozniak, and many more. Michelle also shares her wealth of experience with prospective M&A advisors, conducting multiple training, mentoring, and partnering programs. And over the years, these programs have helped many individuals become successful M&A advisors and business brokers. Michelle, welcome to the show. It's a joy to have you.
Thank you, Kim. Thank you so much for having me on. It's a pleasure to be with you. And I love your red, it's perfect for my brand.
I was going to say, I love that we matched without even realizing that we were going to. So the best laid plans are often those ones, aren't they? So
Yeah.
Michelle, you've had such an amazing journey, but could you share with us a little bit about your journey so far, please?
Sure. How far back would you like me to go?
However far you would like.
Yeah, I'll just make it really brief because I'll just make it brief, but I've always been into entrepreneurship, even as a little girl. I wasn't your typical little girl. I didn't play with dolls. I didn't play with toys. I walked around with a notebook and a pen, and I would walk up to strangers with my mom. I would just kind of like walk away from my mom and walk up to strangers with a note and pen, and I started asking questions like, hey, what do you do? Do you own your own business? How did you get started? And I would just go up and ask them a million questions. And I knew way back then, 8 years old, that I didn't want to get a job. I didn't want that job. I knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I knew I wanted to make a change in the world. And, I knew I didn't want an employers to tell me what to do. Like, that's my biggest pet peeve. Don't tell me what to do. Just yesterday, I was telling my husband, 20 years, don't tell me what to do. So anyway, I own many different businesses in different verticals. I did end up getting that job, though, at Xerox, Fortune 500 company. They actually recruited me as a high volume manager, and then within 6 months promoted me to regional vice president over the South region in the United States. And I was managing 150 salespeople. And I learned right away there was a reason why I said I never want a job, and I certainly didn't want a corporate job in corporate America where you're working for a Fortune 500 company and you can't get anything done. There's so much bureaucracy, so much red tape you have to go through. And, that's not me. I'm a problem solver. I'm solution oriented. I want to get things done. I want to get them done right away. And I don't want to go through all that red tape. So I ended up leaving Xerox and transitioning into my own franchise sales, franchise consulting, franchise development company where I had equity partner with a different franchisor, and really built up franchisors' businesses. But then I had so many buyers that kept coming to me and say, look, I don't want to buy a franchise. I want to buy an existing business. Do you sell existing businesses? I would have sellers come up to me and say, I want to sell my company. Do you do that? And I kept saying, no. And I'm like, wait a minute. I'm a Bob Proctor fan. I believe in law of attraction. I need to stop saying no and start saying yes. And that was over 22 years ago. I transitioned into M&A and mergers and acquisitions.
I love that your entrepreneurial journey started so young. It's amazing that passion for solving problems, for seeing the art of the possible. And like you, I am a big Bob Proctor fan. I love his simplicity of just thinking thinking about what it is that you want and then making it happen, going and saying yes. When the universe is giving you these opportunities, like we want to buy businesses, instead of saying no, go, okay, there's got to be a way I can make that happen. Yeah. So how did you go about that? How did you go about pivoting from doing those franchises to suddenly going and selling people's existing businesses?
Yeah, it was that's a good question. It was, you would think it's kind of easy, but it wasn't easy at all. It's completely different. It's like night and day. Selling franchises, selling existing businesses, it's like oranges and apples. And so I went to my very first M&A conference back in 2000. I think it was 2000. And I walked in. It was in Vegas, and it was a big old convention center with a bunch of conferences going in. I walked into the M&A room after I registered, and there were probably about 3,000 men there. They all looked the same, bellies with gray, balding heads. And they all turned around, and one gentleman spoke up. He goes, "Hey, lady, dermatology conference is down the hall." And I said, "Hey, man, I'm here for M&A. Maybe you should be in a dermatology conference." And that was my intro into M&A. I was the only woman in that conference. And like I said, that was back in 2000. And so I went to the M&A conference. I started learning and teaching myself. And I already had a vast amount of experience. I had different experience because most M&A advisors, business brokers, they don't really have business. Most of them, some do, but most of them don't have the business entrepreneurship experience. They've never even owned the business before. They never had to make payroll before. They never had to make the tough decisions about, well, who do we pay? What do we cut? What do we do? And so they sell cars, or they sell life insurance, or they, a financial advisor or something. They decide to sell businesses because there's a lot of money in selling companies, but they don't really have the experience. And my background was very different because I have owned businesses. I have made those tough decisions. I've been in many different verticals, franchise sales, franchise development. I knew everything there was about leasing and equipment and inventory and build outs and all of that stuff. So what I really had to learn more about anything was, recasting financials, doing evaluations, things that you don't really do in selling new franchises. But it wasn't that difficult for me because, like I said, I already had a pretty strong background. I was obviously in sales. I've been a salesperson my entire life. But I think I came from a different place of sales. I didn't come from a car sales approach, a used car sales approach. I came from an educational approach. Well, I want to educate buyers and sellers. I want to educate buyers, on what they should be looking for and why you shouldn't buy a restaurant because it's the worst decision you will ever make in your life. And why maybe you should buy this type of company instead. And, why sellers should hold on before they sell their business so they can maximize value. So mine came from more of an educated approach with the seller buyer's best interest in mind versus just trying to get a paycheck.
So it really is focusing, isn't it, on that problem solving? So you're working out what their problem is and then helping them learn how to solve it so that they go away better equipped to get the answers that they're looking for.
Yeah, 1,000%. Because otherwise, you could just shove a buyer into a restaurant because all first-time buyers think they want to buy a restaurant because they think it's easy. Well, I got news for you. The restaurant's probably one of the hardest, most difficult industries you can ever be a part of. And it's not easy. And unless you've got direct experience, you probably shouldn't own a restaurant. So we really do the right thing for the client. And if we don't have the right business for them, we tell them that. If we don't think a business is sellable for the price tag that the business owner wants, we tell them. We don't just take the engagement because we want to get a deal, and put it up on the marketing sites at a higher price. We educate them on what buyers look for, what the valuations are based off of. We educate them. We have a program called Road to Exit Rich, where we take them through our whole program because in America, I don't know about the UK, but in America, Steve Forbes, who endorsed Exit Rich, says 80% of businesses on the market will never sell. Well, that means, Kim, you have less than a 20% chance of success.
Yeah.
So most business owners in the U.S. are exiting poor. They're not exiting rich. They're selling for pennies on a dollar, closing their business, or even worse, filing bankruptcy. So it's very, very, very important to educate business owners, and we take them through that process of how they get their business ready so they can maximize value. They can bridge that gap between what they want for the business and actually what the business is worth today. So we're based on all education. It's our goal, it's our mission, our passion to really educate as many business owners as we can.
I love that, because it really is about making sure that people have got the information available, isn't it? And probably also tackling some of those preconceived ideas that they might have, either about what they'd love it to be worth versus what it is worth, or what they're going to need to do to be able to exit it in the way that they want to exit it.
Correct. Most sellers are in shock when they call me and say, hey, I want to sell my business. And I always ask the question, what do you want to sell your business for? I have a gentleman that I just talked to, and he said, well, my partner and I have been thinking about this and tossing around. Now, we know we're not experts, he said, but we want to sell it for $60 million. Well, $60 million is great. We sell businesses for $60 million all day long. But guess what? His EBITDA is $2 million.
Wow.
So that's over a 30 multiple.
Yeah.
So that's where we really got to sit back, educate the client, educate the business owner on what businesses are worth. If you want a $60 million price tag, then you got to build a $60 million business.
Yes.
And then that's where our Road to Exit Rich program comes in.
I love that. So I heard somewhere a statistic, you'll probably know significantly better than me, that when business owners are getting ready to exit, but they perhaps aren't there yet, that often they can bring in an MD to try and run it for them. And in 85% of cases, that fails and they end up back in the business, because what they do is look for somebody like them rather than look for somebody who's able to take it on that next trajectory. Is that kind of what you see in the industry?
Can you repeat that first sentence? Because I didn't really hear that.
Sorry. Yeah. So I read somewhere that business owners, if they want to have sold their business, but they've not sold it yet, and they decide to almost semi-retire early, they bring in an MD to do the day-to-day running.
What do you mean by MD?
Managing director. Sorry.
Okay, you call it managing. Okay.
Sorry, yours would be.
I think I'm MD, not a doctor.
Sorry, I forget sometimes our localisms over here. So our managing director would probably be your CEO or your president.
We call him CEO or CFO or COO. Yeah.
And what they find is that in 85% of the cases, it totally fails, and the owner has to come back in, because what they've not done is look for a CEO that's capable of taking it on that next trajectory. They've looked for somebody like themselves, and therefore they don't get the exponential growth that they were looking for. Is that something you see?
1,000%. 1,000%. And this is what we talk about all the time when we talk about, building your business on the 6P method, which is the 6P method that we explain in Exit Rich and we take our clients through. And this is huge, because the first P in Exit Rich is people. You don't build a business, you build people, and people build a team. The biggest mistake that business owners make, and one of the number one reasons that businesses are not sellable, is because the business is 1,000% dependent upon that owner. And in most cases, the owner is a control freak. And the owner thinks if you want it done right, you got to do it yourself. So the owner's got their fingers in every pie, and business owners really need to focus on their strengths, hide their weaknesses. And that's what I really work with my clients on. But you go back to what you just said, they want to hire people who are like them. A lot of entrepreneurs are intimidated to hire somebody much smarter than them and have better core competencies in the areas that they could be weak, because they want to maintain that control. And I always say, in order to grow, you have to let go of the control. So yes, you must hire people smarter than you. You can't be afraid to do that. You still own the business. It's kind of like if you go back and look at some big leaders, in the industry. Steve Jobs, he's a visionary, right? Steve Jobs is a visionary. He's one of the best visionaries of all time. I mean, he was brilliant. But Steve Jobs didn't do everything himself. He had Steve Wozniak. And Steve Wozniak was smarter than Steve Jobs in certain areas. And Steve Jobs was smarter than Steve Wozniak. If you go look at Donald Trump, love him or hate him, don't get mad at me because I brought up Donald Trump. But if you go look at President Trump, before President Trump was ever a president, he did a bunch of deals, right? He did huge deals. But Donald Trump was the visionary. He was the one that would structure the deal in his mind and make that vision. He would express that vision to the team, but it wasn't Donald Trump that brought that vision to life.
Yeah.
Without George Ross, who was his right-hand person, his attorney, to put the legalese to that vision would have come crumbling down. That vision would have never worked. So if you look at some of the most brilliant people in the world, Bill Gates, Warren Buffett, they've all got people on their team smarter than them.
So true.
And it's so true for entrepreneurs, because entrepreneurs are visionaries. They're not integrators.
I love that. It's a little bit like, I was talking to clients about this the other day. It's like, imagine your business is like your baby. We put so much effort, don't we, into our companies as entrepreneurs. But imagine you've now got it ready to go to college. It's like, do you want it to go to the local college, or do you want it to go to Harvard or Yale? If you want it to go to Harvard or Yale, you're going to have to hire a Harvard or Yale professor. It can't be you. You've got to be able to change that mindset and go and get somebody that scares you, because they're going to be the thing that helps your.
If they don't scare you, and if you're not intimidated by them, you got the wrong person. I love that analogy that you just used. I love that analogy. That's a good fit. So yeah, you got to have somebody that really scares you. And here's the bottom line: that CEO, that MD, you call it in UK, it's going to change, because what got you here won't get you there. So if you're a $10 million company and you want to go to a $50 million company, you're not going to get a $50 million company with the same team you have.
Yeah.
What got you here won't get you there. So you're constantly changing your team as your business continues to grow. You should change your mentors, you change your team, you change your coaches, you change your management, right?
You change the people that you're surrounded with, because
you change the people you're surrounded with. I mean, who do you think Bill Gates surrounds himself with?
Really bright people. but they I guess this is where the Mastermind concept came in, isn't it? What was 1927, I think it was, when Napoleon Hill first coined it. But that was based off looking at the successors of the likes of Dale Carnegie and Henry Ford, etc., and saying what was it that was different and unique, and all of them were part of a very small mastermind group. They realized that surrounding themselves with brighter people than they were allowed them to have exponential growth of their brains. So actually you've now got 8 people focused on the problem, but really, really bright people who are able to view things from a different vantage point to you.
I always say your network equals your net worth. Your network equals your net worth.
I love that.
If you want to be broke, you hang out with broke people.
Yeah.
You want to be rich, you hang out with rich people. You want to be successful, you hang out with success. You want to be a multi-billionaire? You don't hang out with millionaires, you hang out with billionaires.
It makes total sense though, doesn't it? Because you want to be able to see and learn from the people that you aspire to be like. And it's so important on that visualization, isn't it? And it's easier to visualize it if you're around people that are doing it than it is if you're sat around with people that aren't doing it, trying to visualize what it must be like to live the life you dream of.
And those people are going to come up with opinions, and you and I both know what opinions are. You don't want to seek opinions, you want to seek counsel. Counsel from mentors, very successful people who have been down the road you want to travel.
That is such great advice. So tell us a little bit more, please, about Exit Rich and the audio that's come out.
Sure. So Exit Rich, let me kind of give you a little background. So Exit Rich, it was supposed to come out in 2020. I finished Exit Rich, I think it was January of 2020, but like all of us, I had to pivot because of the pandemic. So we ended up coming out with it in 2021, but Exit Rich is endorsed by Steve Forbes. Steve Forbes says Exit Rich is a gold mine for all business owners hoping to sell a business one day, because they leave way too much money on the table, and 80% of businesses will never sell. My co-author is Sharon Lecter, who wrote Rich Dad Poor Dad with Robert Kiyosaki. She's a CPA. She's a financial literacy expert and advisor to a few different presidents. And we have, I don't know if you guys have I don't think y'all have Shark Tank. I think y'all have Lion's Den in the UK.
Yes, so we do.
We have Shark Tank. So Kevin Harrington, one of the original sharks on Shark Tank, wrote the foreword. So we have some great testimonials. But Shark Tank is not just about selling your business. Shark Tank, Exit Rich is not just about selling your business. Shark Tank is definitely not about selling your business. But Exit Rich, who's it for? Exit Rich is really for anyone who owns a business, runs a business, anyone looking to buy a business, start a business, even high-level executives, high-level management team. Exit Rich is right for all of them. And the reason for that, because Exit Rich is not just about selling a company. Exit Rich is making sure that you don't end up in the 80% statistic of the businesses that exit poor. Exit Rich is all about building that sustainable business that you can scale, and when you're ready, you'll actually have a sellable asset one day.
I love that. And when I was looking into it, one of the other bits that I loved when in doing the research was that you recommend that people kind of almost start with the end in mind. So think about what the plan is, your exit strategy is at the point that you're building, not at the point you're ready to sell. So really using it as one of the foundational blocks of what it is that you're trying to build.
Yeah, we can go over that really quickly. That's called the ST, which is Seiler Tucker GPS exit model. And the GPS, the reason, there's so many reasons, but one of the biggest reasons why businesses don't sell is because business owners never think about selling their company until a catastrophic event occurs. Internal, external. Internal catastrophic events are health issues, partners dispute, divorce, death. There's a 51% divorce rate in our country. And guess what? Everybody's going to die. I had a lady calling me up from Dallas. Her husband dropped dead of a heart attack at the age of 45. Left her with a mountain of debt and wanted me to sell his business. He had nothing to sell. The business was 1,000% dependent upon him. It was a construction company, he had all subcontractors. And when he died, the business died. So Exit Rich is all about really planning your exit from the beginning. I want to go back to your analogy because I thought it was brilliant. Your analogy was if you want your kids to go to, if you want them to go to High Point, which I love High Point, that's a great entrepreneur school in the United States. President is my very good friend, Dr. Neil Cobain, who sits on the board of Lazy Boy. He sits on the board of probably 20 different companies. Anyway, High Point University, Harvard, Stanford, whatever, Vanderbilt. You think about this when your kids are babies, right? When your kids are babies, we plan out their whole future. Sometimes we don't give them a choice. Now, this is where you go to preschool. This is where you go into grade school. This is where you go into high school. This is where you go into college. This is who you're going to marry in some countries. We plan out their whole life. But then we look at our business, which is one of our most valuable assets, and we don't plan for its future. We want a kid to go to Harvard, like you said. We're going to hire the right coaching team. And I've spoke at Harvard. We're going to hire the right coaching team to get our kid into Harvard, right?
Absolutely.
And so we're planning that way ahead. We're not going to wait till our kid graduates high school and say, okay, now get ready to go to Harvard. And that's what business owners are doing with their business. They reach a milestone where they're sick of their business, they're sick of trying to, play the employee game, they're sick of this pandemic. They were just diagnosed with cancer, they just got a divorce, whatever it might be. And they're like, okay, now I got to sell my business, now I got to go to Harvard. Well, you don't have a student that's qualified to go to Harvard. You don't have a business that's qualified to sell for maximum value for the desired sales price that you want. So you're going to exit rich. You're going to exit poor, you're not going to exit rich. So what I always tell my clients, Kim, is follow the GPS exit model. When you want to drive somewhere in the UK, what do? We do it all around the world. We pull out our phone, we go to Google Maps, and what do we plug in?
The destination.
And if you don't plug in the destination, what happens?
You get really lost.
You do get really lost. This is all really common sense, but common sense is not as common as it once was.
No,
you get lost. And business owners don't plan to fail. Business owners don't go and invest all their money, time, energy, and effort, say, I'm going to fail my business, and I'm going to exit poor. I'm going to file bankruptcy. They don't do that, but they don't plan. So right now, I want everyone listening to Kim's show to get out a pen and paper, and I want you to plug in your destination. What is that desired sales price? What do you want to sell your company for? Pick a number. Pick a number. Everybody gets hung up on a number, Kim. It's a number. You can decrease it, you can increase it. Let's say you want to sell your business for $10 million. Boom, you got a number. Now that's your destination. What's the next step in a GPS exit model? In order for you to get to your destination, what does a GPS need to know?
Where you're starting from and where you're going.
Starting from, what is your current location? In business, what is your current evaluation? What is your business worth today? So let's say you want to sell for $10 million and your business is worth $1 million. Now, I would tell you, Kim, this is so important because most business owners never ever get their business evaluated.
Yeah.
And that's financial suicide because your business should be your most valuable asset. You should always know what your business is worth because there are events that increase valuation, there are events that decrease valuation. Look at this pandemic. It's decreased valuation for a lot of industries all around the world. This is a worldwide pandemic. So go to an M&A expert. Do not go to a CPA to evaluate your business because they don't evaluate synergies. They just evaluate your business on cash flow. So you want an M&A expert and you want to get an annual evaluation checkup. annual evaluation checkup. So let's say your business is worth $10 million. You want to sell for $10 million, you're worth $1 million today. Now you need to know who your buyer is going to be. There's 5 types of buyers. A lot of sellers will come to me and say, Michelle, I already have the buyer. I just need you to do everything else. And market to one buyer. And I always say right, no, I'm not doing that. Find someone else. And I'm like, why are you not doing that? Because your business is probably not operating on all 6 P's, the 6 P's that I talk about. Yeah. Your business probably is a financial mess. You probably don't have the financial records. It might not be you might not be sellable for what your price tag is. And so I said, there's a lot of work I have to do, and I'm not going to do it for one buyer, because if that one buyer falls apart, you have no backup buyers.
Yeah.
And you can't maximize value, because how can I create a bidding war on a party of one with a party of one? So there's 5 types of buyers, really quick. In America, first-time buyers are 95%. They don't buy $10 million companies. Then you got turnaround specialists that buy distressed assets. You got private equity groups that buy based on platforms and add-ons, but they won't even consider your business as a platform. Let's say they want to get in food manufacturing. They won't even look at your company unless you have $3 to $7 million in EBITDA, earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, amortization. If they're in food manufacturing, you have a food manufacturing company for under $1 million in EBITDA, then they'll look at your company. Then 4th type of buyers, strategic competitors. They typically pay the most, the highest multiple, because they're buying those synergies that will help catapult their business to the next level. Then the last type of buyers, sophisticated entrepreneurs. So really quick now, you want to sell for $10 million, you're worth $1 million, you've identified those 3 last buyers. Now you need to know, what do my numbers need to be? If I'm worth $1 million and I want to get to $10 million, where's my gross revenues, my COGS, my operating expenses? Where does my EBITDA need to land? If you want to sell for $5 million, the EBITDA, it's got to be around, $1.5 to $2.5 million. Now, if you're a SaaS company, it's a multiple of gross revenues, never a multiple of EBITDA. Every other industry is a multiple of EBITDA. And so then you need to ask yourself, okay, now that you figured out the numbers, what are the synergies? What are the criteria that these buyers are willing to pay top dollar for? What are they looking for?
I love that.
And then ask yourself, what is your why? Why do you want to sell for $10 million? Because if it was easy to sell for $10 million, everybody in the world would be doing it.
It's true. It's true, isn't it? But I love that whole breaking it down into those steps. So where is it you're going? Where is it you're starting from?
Yeah.
Who is
and that's
it?
the problem is these business owners don't have a plan, which is crazy to me, because you map out the entire future for your children, right? We have a financial advisor that we're mapping out a retirement plan, but we're not taking our business, which should be our most valuable asset, and mapping out that future. It's financial suicide, and this is why 80% of businesses don't sell.
It makes such sense. It reminds me of a study that was done by, it was actually done by Harvard Business School, and they studied, I think it was 100 people, and only 13% of them had actually got a written down goal. Sorry, only 13% of them had a goal, had a clearly defined goal of what they wanted. Only 3% of them had written it down with some form of action plan, irrelevant of whether it was a good action plan or a bad action plan, but at least they had a goal and a plan. And yet when they came back and checked, that 3% outperformed everybody else in the study by more than 10 times.
Yeah.
They all of the research says, like you say, we do it with our children, is have a plan, write it down, have a destination, and then work out how you think you're going to get there. Even if one of those fails, you think I'm going to New York, I'm going to get on a plane, and actually you can't get on the plane, so you have to get on a boat instead. But at least keep looking at how you're going to achieve it.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And one of the major steps I left out is time frame. So let's say you want to sell for $10 million, you're worth $1 million. You got to figure out what's your time frame. Let's say you want to do it in 10 years. That's great. You got 10 years to get to $10 million. Let's say you want to do it in 5 years. You're just never going to get there unless you have a specific plan, unless it's written down, unless it's in front of you every day. Because it's one thing to write down a plan, but look at it once a year. Some of the most successful, wealthy, famous people in the world have their goals in their pocket. I mean, if you look at Napoleon Hill, he talks about in Think and Grow Rich, and I actually wrote a chapter in Think and Grow Rich today, but he talks about, carry your goals in your pocket. Look at it every day. What's the famous actor? Oh my God, he's so funny. Jim Carrey.
Yes.
He carried around $1 million check. I think it was $1 million, wasn't it?
I think it was, yeah.
$1 million check in his pocket until he actually got $1 million check in his pocket, because it's visualization. you know.
Yeah.
So you got to write it down. You got to go back to it every day. Read Think and Grow Rich. I mean, it's one of the best books of all time.
It is an amazing book, because it's just giving you that thought, isn't it? One of the things that I've been listening to a lot recently is The Unusual Secret by Dale Carnegie, which is based also on what he learned through Napoleon Hill. But it is in that, thinking about it. And he talks in that about having your goal, having it written in front of you and looking at it regularly throughout the day. And again, referencing people that have done just that. Michelle, it's been an absolute delight. I could chat to you all day. You've added such great insight for us. So what's next for you?
So what's next? I'll tell you what's next, and I want to tell everybody where they can, find me, locate me, get the book. So what's next for me? Well, that's a good question. We'll continue to grow. I'll probably have another book come out in a year. I'll probably write another book at the end of the year. I write books in 6 weeks. I do take off. I do take a sabbatical, a couple of years because I need that break because it's pretty intense for those 6 weeks. I have another book probably coming out. We are just launching the Road to Exit Rich program because, it's really my mission, my passion to help save the American economy by saving one business at a time and going out of business. Because when businesses go out of business, we lose jobs and we lose spending power and the economy crashes. And I'm sure the same is true with the UK and many other countries around the world. So we got some big things we're working on, but it's confidential, so I can't really say it here.
Just watch this space.
Yeah, but the thing I will always be doing is helping business owners exit rich and helping business owners build to exit rich.
I love that. You've shared such amazing insight. I hope everybody watching has done exactly what you said, got out that pen and paper and written down where they're going, where they're starting from, when they plan to get there, who is they're going to go and see, who is the buyer, what do they look like, and that they take advantage of getting hold of your book or both of your books because they are packed with insight.
Yeah, the other big thing that we didn't even talk about, Kim, was the 6 B's. And I'll just give you a high level. People. You don't build a business, you build people. People build a business. If you don't have any people, you don't have a business, you have a glorified job that you go to work at every day versus a business that actually works for you. Second one is product. Are you in a thriving industry or a dying industry? Do you have an Amazon and you're in your prime? If you're in your prime, you sell, or you have a blockbuster and you're about to go bust, then processes can make or break your company. You can have all the right people in place, but if you don't have the right processes to drive the people, then you're going to have a failed business. And then proprietary is the number one value driver. These are your trademarks, your patents, your contracts, your databases, your content, your celebrity endorsements. I mean, your radio personality endorsements. I could go on and on about proprietary, but proprietary can take you from a 3 to 5 to 8 to 10 multiple. Build your proprietary assets. It by far is a number one value driver. And then patrons, that's your customer base. In America, and I'm pretty sure the UK, because we have some UK businesses that we're actually working with to sell. But usually most businesses have the 80-20 rule where 80% of the revenue comes from 20% of their clients, right?
Yeah.
So that's customer concentration. If you lose a couple of clients, you're out of business. So you want customer diversification. And then the last one is profits. We're all in business to make money, but it could shock you to know how many businesses actually never make any money. And so I always say lack of profits is not your problem. Lack of profits is a symptom of not having the right people in place, not having the right processes buttoned up, being in the dying industry, not a thriving industry, not protecting your proprietary assets, and not having customer diversification.
I love it. And I love that it starts with people because I think it does, doesn't it? I mean, everything.
Well, yeah, because without people, what are you going to do? You're going to have processes for yourself?
Absolutely.
And you have nothing to sell because the business is dependent upon you. So when you go to sell, nobody's buying you because people do buy people. Don't get me wrong. That's what sales is. They got to trust you like you to do business with you. But when buyers buy a business, they're not looking to buy a job. They're looking to buy a company. They're looking to buy a company that can operate without them.
I love that. As owners, they have to make themselves dispensable through competence, not incompetence, but by creating the right team around them that's going to do it. And I know I sometimes talk to business owners all the time in what I do, and they'll say, "Oh, Kim, it's really complicated because I've got my team or their people, and I've got suppliers, yeah, they're people. I've got customers, they're people, and I've got business partners, they're people. All of them are people. Get good at people, and the rest of it becomes so much easier. Because at our base, human beings, we want to be listened to, understood, and respected. If you can do that for all of the people in your business, whether that's the colleagues, the clients, the suppliers, then the rest becomes so much easier, doesn't it? Because they build the rest of it for you. And I love that flows so beautifully through what you say.
Yeah, thank you so much. And so I know you're running out of time. I would love every one of your listeners to connect with me and overwhelm me and bust my website. But you can all connect with me at STI, that's Seiler Tucker Incorporated, but just put STI at 360.com, STI at 360.com. You can also buy the book. I know that, Kim, you mentioned at exorichbook.com. And yes, you can buy the book there if you're in the United States. If you are in Australia, if you're in the UK, if you're in some other country, go to Amazon. The shipping costs are ridiculous. I don't want you to have to pay those high shipping costs, so just go to Amazon. And if you want to buy the audio version, I do believe, because we launched the audio version in May, that we still have the price is way down on the audio version. I think you can get from anywhere from $2.99 to $7.99, and you can buy that on Amazon, on Apple, Barnes & Noble, anywhere that you like to buy your audio books. You can go get the audio book. You can get the printed version and connect with me. Like I said, at STI 360 has all my links there. We have a podcast called Exit Rich that we really talk about great business ideas and multi-billion dollar, $1 million exits as well. So follow us there, and we write for Inc. twice a month, so you can read our articles there on how to get your business ready for sale.
I love it. And we'll make sure all of your links and all of the ways to connect with you, Michelle, are in the notes. So for anybody who's watching, wants to get in touch, they'll be down below. So do that. Michelle, it's been a joy. I look forward to chatting again really soon. And thank you so much for sharing your journey with us today.
Thank you, Kim. Thank you for having me on.